Hi.
I'm Carey, and this is my husband Nathan.
I'm Nathan.
And Miss Miller asked us to share our coronavirus story with you. So, first of all, we are originally from Alabama, and we lived in Europe for a few years with Nathan's job. And last summer we moved to China. And so we have been there for about 5 months when the coronavirus stuff started. And so for us, we were there, and in January, the last week or so of January, things started getting crazy in China. And so we had 2.5 weeks or so during the Chinese New Year where we were on restricted movements. Now we call it social distancing. So we were at home for 2 weeks during that time, and then we came to a point where we felt like we needed to return to America, and so we flew back. Something to note, I suppose, about us is we have 4 kids. We have 4 little ones: 6th grade, 3rd grade, kindergarten, and preschool. And so we have been doing online school with them now for almost 3 months. It's going, right about 3 months. So that's kind of where we are. Some of the things that we have learned during this coronavirus time that I think hopefully might be helpful. The biggest thing for me is to not be led by your emotions, but to be steady. And Nathan is so much better at this than I am. Especially during our crazy times of evacuating and whatever. And then the first few weeks of being back in the States, I tended to just be on this roller coaster of emotion. But Nathan was calm and steady. And so his ability to be steady was so helpful for me as he was leading our family. And so he provided just this steady rock for us. And in turn, that gave me the ability to pass that on to our children, because I suddenly became a teacher of 4 different grades. And so when we are confident and we are steady and we have faith and we are not blown about by all the chaos in the world, that allows our children to be confident and steady and have that security. And so they have not been filled with worry or anxiety or any of those things, because they haven't seen that reflected from us. And so that's been really neat for them. Another thing about being thrown into being their teacher that I have learned is it's really important as a leader to understand your people and to know how they tick and how they thrive. And so my little people do not work necessarily the same way that I do. So when we first started this schooling at home business, I wanted to make them do school in a way that worked for me and that I would learn best. And we were constantly butting heads, and it was a struggle. And we schooled until dinner time sometimes, and there was lots of unhappiness. And so it took us, unfortunately, a few months, but we have finally found a rhythm of just getting to know our kids on a different level and learning how they learn and learning what works best for them. Do they need more structure? Do they need more freedom? Do they need the ability to just learn this on their own? Or do I need to sit there and walk through it with them? And where do they struggle and where do they need more help, and which areas are they confident in? So just learning more about our kids in that perspective and how to tailor our teaching to the method that's going to be most successful for them. And another huge thing that I learned through this as a leader is we had been in some form of restricted movements for about 7 or 8 weeks when things started to shift here in America. And so we had already gone through a lot of the emotions and a lot of the what ifs and trying to make sense of all of this and whatnot. And so when things started changing here in the States, we had a lot of friends reach out to us and say, like, what do we do? Like, how do we manage this? How do we process all of this? And so I was really grateful to be in a position where we could reach out and share our own experiences and things that we did well and things that we didn't do well as life was changing. And so we all have something to share. I feel like we all need to be in a position of learning and looking to those people who are ahead of us in life and further along in the road and learning from them and gaining wisdom from them. But at the same time, we all have something to share behind us and to the people who are coming up behind us, and something to share our experience and encourage them. Just this week, my 11-year-old has connected with a 16-year-old girl online, just as a friend to learn about baking cakes and learn about writing cutesy curly letters. And they have had 2 video chats this week, and it has just been awesome for her to have somebody who is a little bit further ahead, who can encourage her and be life-giving, and just to have something in common and have a role model and somebody to look up to. And then even today, we were sitting at lunch and was flipping through my feed, and one of my friend's daughters, she's 8, had picked up this Berenstain Bears book and was sitting on a chair and was reading the Berenstain Bears book on the Facebook Live. And so for me, and maybe for you, like, that's really dinky and that's not very exciting. But to my 4-year-old, that was awesome. And she was so thrilled. So she sat there at lunch, eating her peanut butter and jelly, watching this big kid read a story to her. And she was so excited and just so mesmerized by this big kid. And so we all, it doesn't matter how old you are or how much life experience you have something that you can pass on to people who are coming up behind you. You have some type of experience, some type of wisdom that you can share to be an encouragement to others. So keep an eye out for those things and keep your eyes open to where you can encourage others. So that's my stuff from the home front. Nathan is a businessman, and so he has a little bit different perspective on leadership and how he's able to help people from 13 time zones away, how he's leading his people.
Yeah. I don't see myself as a businessman. I see myself as a husband and a father. And hey, no matter who's listening to this, you need to know that's what makes me good at what I do, is that I'm a husband and I'm a father. And those are the places where I try to excel at first. And then the rest of it kind of, well, honestly, it doesn't matter compared to those two things. You just end up with a really great perspective. But I would say in this season, what I have learned, because my whole job is about influencing others, it's about having influence with others and stewarding that well and changing the environment that I work in. So my position is an engineering director. I have about 40 people that report to me in a pretty big chemical plant in China, which has a different culture, it has a different language, it has a different history, it has a different... Well, it has a different everything. If you can't imagine how many differences there are. But the amount of influence you have is directly connected with the amount of connection you can do with others. And so one of the challenges during this time has been actually connecting with other people, because you can't replace face-to-face connection with people. But really been trying to. So I'm on the phone at night, I'm on the phone in the morning, trying to connect through email and text messaging and everything you can imagine. But you really can't replace face-to-face connections with people. But being able to connect with people will directly impact the amount of influence you have. Before we came here, one of the things that I'm so grateful that I did is that I was able to connect with my people. Able to connect on a personal level, a professional level, which, let's be honest, just a person level, because all of that is the same. Whether you connect with people on a personal level or professional level, we're all humans and we are all the same. No matter whether you're Chinese or Belgian or American, or it doesn't matter. Everybody is the same at the heart of man or woman. Sorry, ladies. But at the end of the day, we're all the same. And so connecting with people, we all have something we can connect with people about, whether it's family or maybe it is your culture. I mean, over there in China, it wasn't. But I was able to connect with all my people. And because I was able to connect with my people, I am still able to have this kind of influence that I need to have with them. And I want to talk about that for just a second, because leadership really is about influence. Influencing people changes the way, not just how people act, but it changes how people think and then molds their behavior. You can manage people all day long. I work with a lot of people who are very good managers. And while they are there, people change their behavior. And then when they leave, their behavior changes back to the way it was. But good leaders, and what leadership really is all about to me, is about influencing other people. And it has everything to do with your ability to connect with people. And so if you're a good leader, it means that you have good influence with people, which means that when you leave wherever it is that you work or whatever it is that you do, people continue on with the improvements you made or whatever it is that you've done there, because you've helped mold how they think and honestly kind of almost who they're becoming to some extent, right? A lot of the guys I talk with in China, we talk about family. And I've had a few of those guys talk about that they've never heard someone talk about their family the way I do. I've never heard someone talk about being a father the way that I talk about being a father. And all that goes back to connecting with people. So we can all find some type of common ground to connect with other people about. And again, this goes well beyond culture, beyond language even, because we are all the same in our heart. Everybody's the same. Everybody wants the same thing out of their life, no matter where they come from, no matter where they were born, no matter what they work, no matter what they do. And so your ability to influence others is going to have everything to do with your ability to connect with people. But I really can't stress it enough. During this time, it's been really challenging because you can't have face-to-face discussions and face-to-face conversations, and you can't replace that. So don't ever try to replace that either. And it's one of the things that when we get back to whatever normal is, I will really appreciate those face-to-face discussions and those meetings that I used to hate, when people are sitting around together, actually in person, because again, you can't replace those, and they're so important. So that would be what I've learned.
Cool.
Yep. So we're grateful to have been able to share a little bit of our heart and a few things we've learned and a little bit about who we are with you. And I hope that you can take this, a little nugget here or there from that, and you can also use it to become a better leader. So
Thanks, guys.
thanks.
Good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck.